It's been like a minute. I haven't heard, like, other than listening to your recorded voice, like, talk to you or heard your beautiful voice in so long.
I know. It's weird because
like a time ago.
It's almost 10 years. It's like 9 years. I think we should have a 10-year anniversary, and we can bring everyone out who is in that area. That it would be a PG-13 event, so there will be alcohol. So
yes, and then we just catch up. That would be so much fun.
I think we should plan it. We should for sure plan it.
You're literally wearing the shirt.
I know. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I had to. Yep. It still fits. So it's.
I love it. I have mine too. That makes me so happy.
I almost forgot I was wearing it. I'm glad you recognize that. But
I love it. What a time in our lives.
Yeah, so fun.
I'm gonna really quick. Tell me if you can still hear me. I have kind of a strange setup. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. If you can at any point, just don't hesitate to let me
know. Where do you want to start? I don't even know where to start. There's so much.
Well, we're both gay.
Yes. Yeah.
And we used to be Mormon. That's kind of crazy.
We used to be Mormon. We served in the same area in the mission.
West Virginia, baby.
And were we only in the same area for like one transfer?
Yeah, we were in Morgantown together for like a singular transfer really early on, I feel like, for both of us too.
Yeah, so that was fun.
And it was the literal hills and hollers of one of, honestly, the coolest cities I've ever been in, but it's just so different than anything I had at least ever seen to that point in my life.
Yeah, because you grew up in Texas?
Yeah, Houston.
Okay, yeah. So I grew up in Utah, and so it's like it wasn't my favorite location I've ever been. I'll say that, but it was a good experience.
Good experience. You learn a lot, and you see like it's such a raw view on how our world here in America at least works. There's so much industry there and so much history there, and that's like kind of covered up because I don't know. That's a whole other discussion, but it's just very interesting to hear the stories of the people who live there and like love that land and have been there for forever. But it is like otherworldly.
Yeah, completely different.
Yeah.
So I pulled out my mission journal as well because I was gonna see if I said anything about you.
Okay.
In my journal, and I found one thing that had your name on it. Are you ready?
I don't know.
It's a direct quote from you. I quoted you, and it says, "Sister Grantham, what are you smoking?" And that's it.
You know what? That's honestly pretty. That's pretty dead on. That's a good track for like where we ended up.
Yeah, no, it is.
I wanted it. I wanted whatever it was.
Oh, it's so funny. Okay, so I remember you talking about your girlfriend a lot when we were on the mission. So you got to explain that.
Yeah, so my I grew up in the church. My parents, my dad was a convert. My mom was raised in the church by converts. Her parents joined the church. That's a bizarre story as well. But so by the time it got to me, I was kind of like, from the time I was born till the time I went on my mission, like did the whole thing. So I was very actively, I always like knew the gay part was there. I didn't really like have the words or the language, or I'd ever seen really an example of it in my life, which I think is a common theme for a lot of queer people who grew up in a conservative household of any kind. So I was trying to do I was like trying to date girls, not really realizing why it wasn't working, you know. Right. Interestingly enough, the girl that I feel like I fell in love with, and I tried to date a couple of girls in and out of the church, but the girl that I feel like I fell in love with was not a member. And so when I left for my mission, she was going to like real college, like she was going to like be a real person. And it was kind of understood that like she wasn't going to wait around for me to go figure out this thing, because the whole time she'd been dropping hints that like, I don't like this. Like I support this part of you and I see that it's important, but I'm never going to go there. And I don't think that it's right, kind of thing. So it was always like tumultuous. And then by the time I left, we were just like going on our own adventures, and we kind of kept in touch, but like she had boyfriends and like kind of did the thing. And that was something that I was trying to work through in my brain. It's interesting that you bring her up as my girl. Like by that point, we were not together. But I feel like I like couldn't let it go. And I was still trying to like, I also needed that part of me to like kind of navigate this like space I was going into.
Right.
Because people ask all the time. And they just like want to know like what's going on with you. And I didn't have real answers for those. So she kind of became, you know, famous term is the beard. And we are friends to this day, but that there's a lot of hurdles to jump with that, because I used her for all intents and purposes, and she loved me and always felt a bunch of disconnects, one of which I was gay, one of which was the church. And when we were finally coming to the place where we had to like confront that, those are really hard and raw feelings, especially because she was really respectful always and gave me my space to be like, I understand, and like I know where you're coming from, and like you being gay and like how hard that must be for you, but I also like my feelings are really hurt right now and I need my time and my space to. So we didn't talk for a long time, and then eventually, you know, did figure that out. But it was like kind of, so it was something that was also having me, or I guess not having me, but helping me cling to the church, because I wanted to figure it out with her, and I wanted to like go back home and like be this like straight person who had also found God, which like I did, but that looked completely different than I thought that it was going to. I feel like I might be rambling, but
No worries. So when was like the first kind of moment or time you realized that you were like, oh wow, like I'm gay?
Like 3 years old. I remember my dad was always in like young men's like leadership positions of the church. So he would always bring me on like camping trips and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember like looking at the older boys and like looking at them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I would like, I didn't understand what that really meant for a long time, because sexuality as a whole, like not even homosexuality, sexuality as a whole was something we did not talk about.
Uh-huh.
And when you got into those details, that's when it got really uncomfortable, and really there was a lot of anger surrounding that topic, and a lot of like, anyway, it was, so I never talked about it. So I never really knew how to, I never really knew what those things meant, or like, and so like it started to cause problems in like friendships and stuff, because I was fully crushing on boys as I got older and older, thinking that like, no, that's just my best friend. But it's like,
yeah,
not. It's like, you love this person.
Yeah.
You want to kiss their, like, you want your faces to touch, and like, it's, but they like, I don't know. And then when they start to get uncomfortable and they back away, and like, so I think I always knew that I liked boys in some other kind of way. I wasn't able to put into words that I was gay until I was on the phone with Sarah Nielsen, like probably maybe like 2 or 3 years after we had been home.
Okay.
And even then, like that conversation was like tearful and sad, because I still couldn't like separate what I knew to be true about the church, aka like this dialogue that had been shoved into my head my whole life,
yeah,
versus like what I actually knew and like felt in my like soul.
Okay, I gotta ask, when you told her, was she like, she's like, oh, I've always kind of guessed that you were?
No, she
Really?
like, Sarah and I have always, there's kind of always been this joke. People have always been like, oh, you two are like in love. Uh-huh. And there was always this like kind of she like would always joke with me and be like, oh, they like think we're like in love. And we would like kind of like get into it and be like, no, we're like best friends. And I would be like, I love you. And she'd be like, I love you. And it was never like, but she never, and she, even in those conversations, she never implied like, it's because you're gay. It's because of like anything. She was just always so like, okay with who I was and loved me that by the time we got to that conversation, like, I feel bad because that's a conversation I probably should have had with a therapist, you know? It's just this like huge trauma dump of like realizing like God, as has been explained to you your whole life, isn't real. You are gay. And that's going to influence that moment forward for like the rest of forever. Like the way your parents and family view you, the way your the way you speak about spirituality completely shifts, because then this whole piece of like Jesus Christ, Joseph Smith, Book of Mormon, everything that you know and can reference from those places, you like immediately want to hate. And like, at least for me, I immediately wanted to hate it. That was why it was so sad for me, because my knee-jerk reaction to what I was realizing was anger of like, I've been lied to my entire life. And it's been harming me. And the whole time I thought that it was my fault and they wanted me to think that. And I realize I'm being like a little like aggressive in the like way I'm talking about it, but it really was that impactful for me.
Yeah.
Like, because then you look back on every conversation, like where someone's told you like, don't hold your wrist like that, or like, no, you can't dye your hair, or like, no, you can't wear those shoes, or like, you realize people have seen it this whole time and they've been like smushing you.
Okay, I gotta stop you right there, because literally everything you're saying, I'm like, yes, 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 yes. It's so crazy. Like, I feel like we've had a lot of similar experiences in the last 9 years, but we've never talked before. Like, why have we never talked before?
You know, I almost felt like I couldn't. Like there were like, if I talked to you about it, literally up until maybe like a year or two ago, it's such a sensitive, like, I don't know where you are in your faith. You didn't know where I was in my faith. You probably were thinking you've had all these experiences that were super singular and that I would understand, but maybe like there's just so many like nuanced things that like I literally admired you from afar and felt this like thing that you had always, and I wanted it, and I felt like you understood it in a way that I might not, and I didn't know how to like approach that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that is almost on purpose too, because if we don't know how to talk to each other, how are we supposed to figure out what we're doing and the truth, really?
Yeah. I just love how, like, I feel like a lot of things are becoming like full circle in my life lately. And I feel like this is definitely one of those moments. Like, I feel like we're both in a spot where we can actually talk and communicate about it appropriately. And I think it's fantastic. So
I do. I want to know more about your story too, because I feel like they are so similar.
mm-hmm.
And I want to hear it.
So what do you want to know? Where should I start?
I guess the same question. When did you know, and how did that play into like where we met? Like, what were you dealing with at the point in your life when you met me?
So I loved how you said, kind of looking back, how you can see like, oh, I had, a crush on this boy. I didn't want to be his friend. Like, I wanted to be his boyfriend, and I feel like that was very similar to me, but I didn't realize that until I was like a senior in high school. And it was like a train hit me, like, oh my gosh, like my life is never going to be the same after this moment, because I had a realization. And so from that point, I never did anything with the girl. I was very in the church, wanted to stay that way, but I was repressing a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions. So I go on my mission. That's where we meet. And then I was companions with Sister Wood, with Kaylee,
Mhm.
and she ended
Love
up
her.
she ended up going home, and then like a month later I went home, and then we had this back and forth relationship for like 2 years, and
Dang. 2 years?
it was a from my point, I don't know what she would say, but like it was on and off, and a long point of cognitive dissonance, like
Yeah.
I was miserable. That was probably the worst time of my life, just like trying to figure it out. And there's a lot with the church and my family, and I feel like there was a lot of faith manipulation that was put upon me, and so after 2 years after I got home, I literally like woke up one morning and I was like, I'm done. Like I can't be a part of the church anymore. Like I have to live my true self or I'm not going to be here anymore. Like it got to that point, and like ever since then, like I felt relief from that point. So I guess that's about 7 years ago. So I've been living as a pretty much out lesbian for 7 years, I guess. I mean, I guess I'm not that out if people don't know, but I mean, I don't like broadcast it very much, but like if someone
Yeah.
asks me, like, yeah, I am. Like, I mean,
That's how you identify. Yeah.
so yeah.
So, how has it been for you navigating like the queer world?
It's hard, especially living in Utah and living in Utah County because there's nothing here really. So it's still kind of a struggle. I feel like because you live in Atlanta, so I'm sure it's a completely different world there, but it's very
It's
quiet here.
different. Yeah. Well, so like, okay, Utah's dry-ish. Like, are there bars? There are bars like in Salt Lake and stuff,
Yeah,
right?
like I can go. There's a good gay scene downtown, but I don't go down too often. That's
Well,
probably
it's interesting because there is like the gay scene,
Mhm.
which is not necessarily like it. That doesn't necessarily reflect like the reality of living a queer life. Like that's like a wonderful escape, but especially something that was hard for me to navigate in that space was like my sense of like heavy air quotes morality.
Mhm.
I had such a complex and still kind of do about like what was good and what's bad that I like even some spaces now I feel really like uncomfortable with. The queer world goes really deep into like queer culture is a space where anything that is repressed is able to kind of like explode. And that is like, that's literally the shadow world in a way. It's both like the rainbow world, but it like accepts and represents the shadow world as well. And so there's like anything goes. And so there were so many like realities of the universe
Uh-huh.
that I feel like slap me in the face.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
Which I don't know. I'm one of my cousins is also queer, and she lives in Utah, or she lived in Utah, and now lives in DC. But her Utah experience versus her DC experience has been very like. There's levels of like depends on where you are, the levels of exposure you're going to have to what's available, and if you don't fit, like, because there's so many other things than just like being like. I also identify as just like a plain out homosexual, like boy. You know what I mean? And they're like you're a lesbian woman, and then there's like but there's so many like great like just little niche like categories, and if you have any type of like gender or sexuality expression that is even outside of just being cisgender and homosexual, that is also very like then you learn about that, and then you learn about just like what is actually happening here. Like this is just evolution like happening before our eyes. And
It's crazy to think about. Like,
yeah,
like literally, like anything could happen, and especially like growing up so strict in my like beliefs and thoughts. just like thinking about like anything is possible, like anything can happen at like any moment, you know. It's just such a weird way of different way of thinking.
And that it's all okay and like beautiful. Like there, you just get put any, and I don't want to, I struggle too with like focusing really hard on talking about it like just from a Mormon perspective, because I don't want to be that angry ex-Mormon. I feel like that is such a valid category, but I don't, there's so much more to me. Like this is such a bigger, this is such a bigger pattern that's been happening like throughout history, where people who are viewed as minorities are put like underneath people who view themselves as the majority's foot. And so like, I feel like becoming part of the queer revolution became part of being part of every other human rights revolution that's ever happened. That was really, it still is really heavy. It makes me so angry. And now all I think about all the time, the same way I thought about my mission, is like changing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How often do you think you go back and like think about your mission and like just the things that
every day?
Really, every day?
And it's not like fondly, mostly, I've got to be honest. A lot of times, especially lately, I literally just texted Chaz and Sarah and Jared like, I don't know, 2 or 3 days ago, because something is happening in the life of somebody that I like taught and ended up getting baptized. And I like the weight of that crushes me, because I feel like I perpetuated this in somebody else's life. And I could have been a chance for her to escape had I been more vocal and had said what I was feeling in those actual moments. But instead I like ran it through the church filter, pushed her into the cycle, and like at one point in my life, like felt kind of proud for it, because like, oop, there's the number. I get to put it on like what? Like in my Preach My Gospel that's now sitting on my shelf, like collecting dust. I haven't cracked it open since. Like, what the fuck does it matter? And then there like also like there are relationships that I had on my mission that ended once I became openly gay. That crushes me daily. The relationships that I thought that I had with leadership, who were, I don't even know if they fully realize this or if they do and don't care, were people that I was scrambling for a male figure who understood this gospel space. And they sure did give it to me, but I don't really know if it was helpful at the end of the day, because now I feel some weird like longing for their like love and approval based off of these like standards that I'll never meet once again. And that relationship was real for me, and I was genuinely trying, and I thought that they saw that even in the midst of all of this other stuff that might be going on. Because honestly, like in my brain, if they were like priesthood leaders being led directly by God to direct this mission, and they were supposed to know everything that was going on with all of us all the time, I figured he would know. They would know. And they would be able to like see that maybe before I even saw it, and would be able to tell me something that would just like, boo, light bulb, like change the game for me, save my life literally at some points, like you were talking about earlier. Like never happened. And then you hear all of these stories about like the apostle comes to like visit our mission, and they recognize that one other elder in the hallway and knew his name before he ever like saw his face. First of all, that's not incredible. We literally have our tags like on our suit jacket, but like they also have a list of your names and you're in high up leadership. And so of course he recognized you, but you hear that as a kid and you're like, why is an apostle not looking at me and helping me? Like, why else are they here? They're just like walking around the halls with their like fake teeth and like really soft hands, like uncomfortably soft hands, and making me feel like I can't talk to God because I'm gay. And that there's like this block. The block wasn't ever me. And that's, I think, why I'm so mad. I feel like I want to be like vindicated and like justice, and for people to like recognize like it wasn't my fault, but like I'm gonna be scrambling for that. Like if that's, we can't ever have that.
Yeah. So how many people did you baptize?
Maybe 6.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. And then because I think you were like a zone leader or something in Morgantown. I can't remember what they're called.
Yeah, in Morgantown.
Okay. And then did you ever have a higher missionary calling? Did you ever go higher than that?
No.
Okay. I have to. Was it you and Elder Steckney who came over when I was with Sister Wood that night?
Yes.
Do you think about that?
I do.
Uh-huh. I don't think I've thought about it until like a couple weeks ago for some reason. And like I don't know I can't remember exactly what happened. I don't know if you know the whole situation, but I feel like that whole situation was fucked up. Like the communication, and then how much time me and Sister Wood were left just kind of waiting for the pits to come help us. It was like a week. We had to like wait a week for a mental health situation.
Like consultation. Your mental health, front line was me and Elder Steckney. And we gave a blessing.
You gave us you guys did the best you could.
No, you want to know why that bothers me? Because I don't know. The best that I could have done in a human situation would be to load your ass up in a van and be like, let's go get fucking McDonald's and talk about what's happening until the leaders get here. We couldn't do that. Mm-hmm. And so still to this day, I have no idea what was going on. Mm-hmm. And there's such a, I don't know how, I don't know how to say some of my feelings about it. There was another layer that was just kind of smeared on top of that whole situation that I think made it worse than it was. And so a lot of the way that Elder Steckney and I handled that situation, I think was really bad. And I've wanted to apologize to you for years at this point, because what was that? And I should have once again, that's one of those moments that I look back and if there's anything like the Holy Ghost, it was telling me in that moment to do something completely different than what I did do. And I hate that. So I don't know I'm trying to be choosy with words because I don't want to just throw all of your business out there, but I whatever. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I mean, you don't have to apologize at all, because I can't even really remember. I remember you two coming over there. I remember Elder Steckney telling us the story, and then Elder Steckney gave Sister Wood a blessing. You gave me a blessing, right? I think. And I don't remember what you said. And then you guys left. That's all I remember. But because then, let's see. We're gonna have to pause in 10 minutes, and then I'll have to restart it if we can't finish.
No,
yeah, I just don't know. It was just such a weird, not handled very well with the leadership, I feel like. And I feel like that kind of, it threw me through a whole loop, and it just, I don't know. But
the whole hands on your head situation, what am I I was supposed to be a conduit for God to somehow read your mind, know what you needed, help you sustain you for a week through whatever it was that was going on. And I cannot remember the name of that place. Where was that place? That godforsaken place.
I hated that place. It was Fairmont.
Infested with roaches.
Cockroaches. Oh my gosh.
And not just normal kind, everywhere. and you were in this weird, like bizarre, like that little town, like there was like people got stabbed there all the time. And you're two like beautiful women just going out, like dressed in like church clothes, carrying around Bibles, like confronting like people who the problems these people were having were so far out of our reach to help with the tools they gave us. And so I'm sure you did too, put yourself in situations that were like low-key life-threatening.
Yeah.
Thinking I have like the armor of God on and that it's protect my ass.
Insane. Completely insane. Oh my goodness. Like like looking back now, like talking about it, just absolutely crazy. Like
crazy. That's the best word for it.
Once you got home from your mission, kind of where your life went from there.
Okay, so I went back home to Houston. Home was never where my heart was. And meaning Houston, the church, family, things like that. I would say immediate family, maybe. That's always been a pretty tumultuous space. And so about a month after I got home, my aunt, who lives in Atlanta, we've been talking back and forth. She had sent me an email before I had gotten home, kind of proposing an idea. I thought about it, had been talking about it about a month after I get home. And I finally decided, like, I'm going to go. She was basically saying, come out here and I'll give you like 2 years to figure things out without any, like, to be honest, any real expectations of me, which I am so grateful for. The only expectation really was like have a job and go to school. And so I did. And I moved in with them. I lived in their basement and I served. I was a server and a bartender for 7 years. And was going to school for graphic design at this like local community college, attending my local YSA ward, probably like once a month. The girlfriend that I'd had on my mission was doing her thing. So I started trying to like date women again for a while. There was a convert to the church that I met. She like had just recently got baptized when I got home. She was just like the coolest, like she was and still is like the coolest, most intelligent, beautiful. Just like she's incredible. I was infatuated with her. I just, from like a friend perspective, like as far as like my, like I loved her as far as I could love her and wanted to hang out with her all the time. And she was kind of going at it from like, I also really like you. So like, why are we not like kissing? Why are we not like holding hands? And why are these other things not happening? And she just kind of introduced me to this whole like space. She was very spiritual and very like connected to the church. Like her conversion was very authentic. Something that I really admired in people when I saw them on my mission. You know, like it just was, she was so interesting to me. And she was trying, and I was dating her, but she was like trying to date me like with real intent, you know, and I was like 1 foot in, 1 foot out at all times. And things, you know, escalated to a point where I couldn't really like ignore that anymore. I did things that I really regret, hurt somebody that I love a lot, and kind of started to realize I can't do this anymore. And that was when I called Sarah. And at that point, after the phone call with Sarah, that was a really, like I said, that was something that I should have never put on Sarah to begin with. And so walking away from that conversation, I once again, like, I didn't feel let down by Sarah, but I kind of realized in that moment, I'm going to be alone in this for a minute. And I'm not upset about that because I love myself and I want to give myself this time, but it was just like such a loss too at the same time. It was very much like going out into the like mists of darkness kind of thing, and like actively making that choice and being taught so long that was like a bad choice to make. So being out there and like making those choices, I was like still living with my aunt and uncle. I like started to like, because up until that point I was like bartending and serving, and I wasn't drinking, I wasn't smoking pot, I wasn't doing anything. Like I was still living standards of the church, like literally still going to church, teaching Sunday school like once a month. That's the only reason why I went, was to like go fulfill my calling, whatever. I pulled myself away from that completely. And I told my aunt and uncle that I was like still doing those things, but I was like starting to drink while I was bartending. I was starting to smoke pot. I was on Tinder way too much. Just like when I was saying I was like at these like church things, and I'm really sorry if they ever watch this because I don't know if they know this up to this point, but like saying I was going to church things, I was like going to boys' houses and like spending the night and like figuring out that part of me, and like no holds barred. Like I did not care. Anything went. And I didn't really say no to anything for a long time. And then I think probably like a year and a half, 2 years into that, I met Taylor on Tinder, who is my still now boyfriend.
Awesome.
And he was so different. We were supposed to go to a movie. We sat talking in the parking lot, like getting to know each other before going into the theater. I missed the movie, whatever. It was like too late to do anything else. The only thing that was open at that point was like literally Walmart. This was pre-COVID. So like we could go to a Walmart and like wander around at, 3 a.m. still. And we went and like looked at greeting cards, and he thought I was so fucking weird, but like was still like entertaining my nonsense and was like wanted to be around me. And I was trying to do like the normal Tinder thing that I had done like previous, and he was very like actually trying to like get to know me first. And I like everything that I got to know about him because of the way that he carried himself, I was just like entranced with. Like he was like a musician, and he's so intelligent, could just like teach himself anything, and is like so good at video games, and then like can go out into the forest and we can just like hike across like a fallen log over a river because he just has great balance, and it's just like an adventurous person, and like gave me such a space to like, I never felt so like safe and so seen, and it was so beautiful up until like I hadn't really like dealt with anything yet, and so like I said, I was like drinking and like smoking pot like way too recreationally, like nothing against smoking pot at all, but like all the like just way too much all the time, nonstop, go, I'm in love, I want to be an artist now because that's something I always wanted to do, but now that I'm like fully expressing myself, I'm just gonna like do that full throttle, and didn't really think about like how impractical that can be if you don't do it right, kind of thing. And like was being reckless, like too reckless, and ended up getting into some trouble that I don't want to go too deep into with the law.
Okay.
I'll leave it there. And nothing crazy, but I did, I was arrested twice, and spent a couple of days in jail, and had to spend way too much money like proving that I was not a like threat to society, and because I was there for a time and a space. And I think that was really the first time that I actually confronted real feelings about that was probably the first time I was able to say like, no, I'm angry at all of these things. because up until then I was feeling angry and was just kind of like in survival mode, and was like, let's figure this out. And like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to compartmentalize that. I'm mad and I'm holding that with me. And that was like the motivation of everything that I was doing. But I was just like, I just thought that I was like busting into the real world. That was kind of the first time that I realized I was like angry and that I was like sad and that like these things were hurting me still. And Taylor has been like the most supporting like witness to that, and also has kind of been the person to remind me throughout all of it, like, just because those things are so dark, like, yes, they are dark and they were like bad and whatever, like, that's such a deep conversation, but like those things can be true while also maintaining the fact that like there was still a lot of good that came from, who disagrees, a lot of good that came from it, which has been helpful for me, because I think I needed to not believe that that was like such a, like the mission specifically, like the church part of me was such like a waste of time. I feel like I was like, I could have been like living a real life. I still have problems like referring to it that way. Like I could have like done something real. Like it was real what we did. At least like for us, I feel like it was. There was an interesting moment though, I will say, kind of to rewind back that story a tad. The leaving the church process, because my bishop, like when he started to realize that I like stopped coming to church and like wasn't showing up to teach class and like a bunch of other things, like asked to take me out to lunch. And we went to lunch, and in that lunch had the conversation of like what's going on. And I told him like I'm dating men and I'm not going to stop doing that. I was at that point I had met, like I was only having this conversation with him because I met Taylor specifically and was like about to come out to my family and stuff. And he was like, well, if you're going to do this, like if you're going to be gay, then like we need to hold like a council and like figure this out. And like you're not gonna be able to speak in church anymore. You're not gonna be able to teach, pray, like do any of those types of things. And we're gonna need to figure like something out. And I don't know like what came over me, because this is very like not me. I don't normally do this. I feel like in that moment though, I was like, I'm not gonna do that. And I would rather just like remove my records from the church. Getting that letter of them saying like your baptism didn't mean shit, like your endowment didn't mean shit, like all those promises you made and like blessings that were given to you are like taken away. That's such an interesting like healing moment, because they teach that to you like it's like a blessing and like something bad is happening to you. I felt completely unfettered, like the chains have been broken and like I could like breathe.
Yeah.
Like there was a physical release when I opened that letter. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I had kind of the same feeling because I had to write in somewhere to have my records removed. So it's kind of a process, and then you get the letter. It's like, I don't know if my family even knows that I have my name removed.
They don't?
I don't know if they do or not. Surprise!
That's so right. Hey guys. It's so interesting because that was such a big conversation. That's such a how do you think your family would take that?
I think my parents would be, if they don't know, I think they'd be disappointed because I'm breaking our forever family, you know, like
Yeah.
I'd be the only one who can't make it to the celestial kingdom with them, you know. So
Here's a question. If that like space were to exist, would you say tomorrow the church is all of a sudden like gays are cool and can get married in the temple? I don't think that will ever happen, but if it were to, would you want to pursue that?
absolutely not. No way. No, that would be the biggest sign to me that the church is false, is because so many people have told me gays are never going to be able to get married in the temple. So if they do change it, which I do think they will, or they're going to die, because you have to evolve if you want to keep surviving. But no, like I'm completely atheist. Like I don't believe in a higher power, or like it's kind of confusing because I say that, But then I like to say that I do believe in energy, and like you can tell when someone has good energy, I feel like, but I don't think that's like the spirit necessarily. But
yeah, those words that they use to define it are not like, they're coded and meant to strip the real truth from you. And I think honestly strip like your power from you. Because I really think that they, I don't know, call me a crazy ex-Mormon or a conspiracy theorist, but I think that there's a lot of people out there that want to take, like, they're going to sell you your free agency. They're going to sell it to you all the while. The cost of it is your actual freedom. Like, it's modern day penance. They're selling things like repentance and forgiveness, things that are not real, things that only you are the only you're the only person that can forgive yourself for anything that you've done. Like, until you come to terms with who you are and the things that you've done and what that means in the world, like, personally, you're going to be in prison for forever, whether you think Jesus has forgiven you or not. Yeah, I really, it's such a strange, I don't even know what to call it. The cycle that they catch people in is really sinister and really harmful.
Yeah, for sure. So you're still with, how long have you been with your boyfriend?
You and I have been together for 5 years.
5 years? That's a good amount of time.
He's my best friend in the whole world. And 5 years is a long time.
Yeah. I'm assuming you guys live together.
Yeah. We have the whole time because we're crazy. Like, we moved in together a month after we met. We're not married, though. I'll say that. We're not married. I don't believe in that bullshit.
But you're pretty much, that's your commitment level.
That's my, like, he's like my forever. Like, if this relationship that we have together is a real true love doesn't exist, and I'm going to be forever a cynic, and I'll, like, crawl into a hole and die.
I'm so happy for you, though. That's fantastic.
We've had a good time. What about you? How's dating been?
It sucks. Dating sucks. I'm going to be 30 in August, and it's like, what even is like adult relationships? I feel like, I mean, like, how do you make friends when you're in your 30s, let alone like date people? It's a interesting space, but I'm trying to figure it out. So
I think we were taught for a really long time that, like, the earlier the better. Like, you're wasting time. I don't view it so much that way anymore. And I feel like with that comes the fact that, like, 30 is old, and I don't think that it is. Like, I'm about to be 30 in May of next year. So, like, I'm right there behind you, and, like, forever, like, my if I were to pull out my mission journals right now and show you, like, the 10-year plan that I wanted like 3 or 4 kids by this point. That's what I thought that I wanted. Yeah. Like, thought that being a 30-year-old dad with 5 kids would be kind of old, and, like, I was going to be a little bit behind.
Yeah,
that's weird when you really dig into where that comes from and all that shit too.
So you're just breeding more Mormons to stay in the church. Is there any other topics you want to talk about or anything? I'm trying to think, did we leave your story in a good place? I think we're coming up on an hour almost.
Okay, I think those are the most important things to me. I just want people to know it's okay to be gay. Remember the whole adage about wolves in sheep's clothing, and also the whole, like, by their fruits shall you know them, or whatever. Like, just pay attention, and pay attention to how you feel. And anybody that tries to tell you, like, not to be you in any way, shape, or form is to be immediately distrusted.
I love that. I'm trying to think if I have any last questions for you.
I have so many questions for you, and I want to talk like this continually without, like, we don't need to do this for a podcast or I want, you're my friend and I love you.
Yeah, I love you too. I would be 100% okay with that. So we will stay in contact.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I'll let you go. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
You too, darling. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.